Hey, what's up, guys? It's Clint. I am back. Welcome to another episode of Versus right here on Clint Likes Everything. Today, we got a hell of a show for you, man. But before we talk about that, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to hit the subscribe button. That's right, subscribe and hit the notification bell. We can let you know about future shows. Today, we have Elvis versus the Bohemian Rhapsody. That's right. The new Elvis movie versus Bohemian Rhapsody. That is the King versus Queen. The King versus Queen. And before we get into that, I need to get my cohort, my amigo, my brother from another mother, my good pal, my movie aficionado, my action adventuring, I wasn't going to say apprentice. I'm the apprentice. He's the master. Here it is, Curtis Baker in the house.
Hey there, cousin.
Dude, I couldn't find another A. Action adventurer. No, that was a tough one. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
I feel like I haven't seen you in as they say in the country, I feel like I haven't seen you since a dog was a pup. Yep. Yes, sir. And speaking of country, man, straight out of Memphis, we're going to be talking about Elvis versus Bohemian Rhapsody, man. It doesn't two fantastic biopic picks, two great movies. I love getting a bird's eye view. I know some of the stuff they take. I take creative liberties with some of this stuff, but it really is fun for me to just kind of see what some of these people went through and how they got where they are. And, you know, I'm a musician who had a record deal and toured all over the place. And so for me to see other people's stories and how different it is and how different it was back then and when I experienced it and now, all that stuff's fun to me. It's fascinating. How did you enjoy these movies today?
I really enjoyed them both. These are two very good movies about two very big personalities, two very, in our culture, strong role models, I guess, or
icons, man. They're
icon. Yeah. There you go. That's two very strong icons, and you always wonder about certain things. Like you said, it's never going to be 100% true. But you wonder about certain things and, like some of it you already knew, like with a lot of the Elvis stuff, I think we already knew a lot of it. It was just presented very well. But with Freddie Mercury, I didn't know as much. And I was thinking, like, of course I would enjoy the Elvis movie. But, like, that's the thing. If people don't know that story, they might enjoy it more because I didn't know as much about Freddie Mercury, and I really enjoyed that movie. I just knew the main hit points, and I really enjoyed that movie as well. So, like, getting to know these icons on a human level is really great.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And I didn't know that much about Queen. And to see that, I remember Queen from my sister when I was in probably kindergarten. My sister used to play Queen all the time. She loved Queen. And, so I have childhood memories of Queen. My mom, huge Elvis fan. So, listening to Elvis growing up, and also like my grandparents, I remember they gave me a bunch of records. So I ended up with a bunch of Elvis records. And I even had a,
wow.
Yeah. And you know what I had? I had an Elvis in Hawaii 8-track. Which I probably still have somewhere in a drawer. I used to, and you didn't want to play these old 8-tracks because they would wear out. They would crack after they got old. Not me, man. In like 7th, 8th grade, I wore that thing out. I had an Elvis and I had a Star Wars Close Encounters, I think, John Williams 8-track, and I had an old 8-track player, and I used to play the hell out of those, and it was really fun. Also, later I could plug a guitar into that, and it would distort, and I could play it through my stereo speakers. And Chris Klink swears to this day that was the best sounding guitar ever. So I wish I had that stereo now. But yeah, like Elvis it's like Star Wars for me. It's in my blood. It's since I was at my earliest memories. And you know what? Queen is some of my earliest memories too. So this was really fun for me. 2 really tragic stories, both of them. And it's funny because, you put these icons on, whether it's, Michael Jackson or Britney Spears or Elvis or any of these super Madonna, but you don't know what's really going on behind the scenes. You don't know what kind of, they're human beings that are isolated from the general public because of their fame, and you don't know what's really going on. So it's really fascinating to see. Let's look at the chat though before we get into the movie magic and start breaking it down. Let's talk to the chat. And who do we have? We have the legend, the patron, the Bobby. That's right. Bobby, you're getting the horn. I don't care whether you like it or not. Yeah, you have a Moody Blues album. The Moody Blues played in Austin not too long ago. I remember in the past year, maybe 2 years, which was interesting.
I think you mean, or Bobby, you mean them, or you mean the Elvis Moody Blue album? Like it was one of his last or second to last ones. Maybe I think that's what you're talking
about. Oh, there's a band called the Moody Blues. I don't know if you remember them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's what you're talking about. Yeah.
Well, what do I know?
No, the Elvis album. No, I don't wonder. I bet you the Moody Blues were probably named after that album. Probably.
Most likely. It would make sense. Pull that down a little bit. All right. Well, let's get into it, man. Let us get into it. First of all, we got Elvis. Yes, Elvis. From his rise to fame to his unprecedented stardom, rock and roll icon Elvis Presley maintains a complicated relationship with his enigmatic manager, Colonel Tom Parker, over the course of 20 years. Central to Presley's journey and happiness is one of the most influential people in his life, Priscilla. And that is a very vague, that's about as vague as it gets, talking about his life.
They're like, no spoilers.
No spoilers. Okay. Elvis, the icon, who had an interesting relationship with his manager, and also Priscilla, who's signing off on this, played an instrumental role in his life. That was it. All right.
Yep. There you go. Okay.
There you go. And then we had Bohemian Rhapsody. Which Bohemian Rhapsody? Freddie Mercury, the lead singer of Queen, defies stereotypes and conventions to become one of history's most beloved entertainers. The band's revolutionary sound and popular songs led to Queen's meteoric rise. Meteors fall, they don't rise. Rise in the 70s.
Oh, wow.
After leaving the group to pursue a solo career, Mercury reunites with Queen for the benefit concert Live Aid, resulting in one of the greatest performances in rock and roll history. Yes.
I have never thought about that saying, and you just blew my mind, Clint.
Did I?
Yeah, because that's a common saying, and it's just stupid now.
What is it, like meteor-like?
Meteoric rise, meteors fall.
No, meteors fall. Well, maybe that's the deal. What it looks like a rise, but it was a crash into a crater somewhere. Yeah.
I don't know.
How big is the crater for Freddie Mercury left? Because that was a pretty bad crash. Craziness. Yeah. So did you have any fun Elvis facts about this movie or anything like that that you noticed?
About the movie, I guess because it's so new, not a whole lot's out there yet. But I did have a little bit.
I heard I heard that Austin Butler worked on this for 2 years to get into character and to really get this going.
Yeah, and then he had been working on it so much. They were saying that uh, that he would actually keep, or like if people were talking about the movie or anything Elvis related, he would just naturally go into the accent and not notice it. It was like a trigger for him, and he would just start like talking like Elvis after the movie because he'd done it for so long.
Yeah.
Um,
How?
he apparently did consult Rami Malek before shooting. Since Rami Malek did such a good job with Bohemian Rhapsody, he consulted him to see about it. This is what's interesting to me, and I don't know why it never made sense, because I knew that Elvis's favorite superhero was Captain Marvel Jr. I had known that fact, but this is what was interesting to me. Since it was his favorite superhero, he had a collection of the comics. His wardrobe on stage is based off of Captain Marvel Jr.'s suit, and if you look at them side by side, it makes perfect sense, dude. And I don't know how I never noticed that. But I thought that was pretty cool. He's got the high collar, he's got the short cape. It's crazy.
That's wild.
And apparently, Austin Butler and Elvis are actually 16th cousins, twice removed. I mean, that's pretty darn far off. That's even further than me and Johnny Depp, but they are technically related.
Well, I think you look more like Johnny Depp than Austin Butler looks like I'm just kidding.
I get that a lot.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Oh, yeah, that was one of my things with this movie, and I've said it. We talked about this on the news show earlier today, the Talk News and Talk, which you can tune into every Friday at 5:30 Central Time. We do everything entertainment, news, and talk. We talk about all the latest movies and TV shows that are streaming, and whatever crazy news that's happening. So if you're watching this and you're unaware of that other show, go check it out. It's a lot of fun. Curtis and I are there every week, and we have a range of other folks that are coming and going. But I feel like we've got a pretty good cast going right now. And yeah, I was talking before about this, and it's interesting to me that I didn't think that Austin Butler looked enough like Elvis coming into this movie. I thought his features were long. He had a long, skinny face, and Elvis didn't have a fat head or anything, but I feel like his eyes were farther apart. And just think of Britney Spears and think of Jennifer Garner. You know what I mean? Like I feel like Britney Spears has more Elvis-like shape of her face, and Jennifer Garner has a long, narrow face that's gorgeous. I love Jennifer Garner. I'm not criticizing anybody. I'm just saying everybody has a different bone structure, and I would categorize Austin Butler with Jennifer Garner's facial structure, not like Elvis's. If I was sorting bone structures out and making a list of who belongs where, I would not have picked Austin Butler, which would be the most ignorant, no imagination having casting director ever if they'd have done that, because he turned out to do such a fantastic job. And after you put hair and makeup on him and he's in there, you get immersed in this story, and I was believing it. And I was telling Curtis before, there were times where I had to kind of squint my eyes, and I was like, wait a minute, were they using old Elvis footage or were they using actual footage? Because there was a couple of times they would splice in some original thing here and there, but I had to wonder, and that's because he transformed and he acted this thing out, and he's a solid actor, and I think he's going to be huge. He's probably going to get some awards for this, like some serious awards, and we're about to see him in Dune. He's playing Sting's character. I can't remember the character's name in Dune, in the next new Dune movie. I think the guy's got a amazing career in front of him, and I'm happy with his performance, and high five to Austin. He did a fantastic job. What do you think, Curtis?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I was really expecting to not like
I didn't get too weird talking about bone structure, did I? Did that all make
No, no,
sense?
I know that. I mean, that's exactly how I felt. Like I was like,
Yeah.
he kind of looks like Elvis, but not really. Well, but yeah, like you were saying, Elvis had much more wide face. Certain things like that. And yeah, I didn't, think he was that great of a pick just based on looks. Um, and again, yeah, he's a good-looking dude. But it's just to me, he didn't really look like Elvis. Well, he does such a good job acting when you get in there, like it's insane. Like unless you're specifically like just staring at him, like your brain overrides your eyes, and you're like that's like you just start imagining it as Elvis. Like he does such a great job that it's you forget that it's a different actor, or I did at certain points, because it's not just his looks. It's his mannerisms, it's his voice. He does the voice and the cadence of the voice, and just I mean, he really just nails it, in a way that I haven't seen in a long time. I mean, especially pulling off Elvis, but I mean pulling off, just another. And I thought Rami
Rami Malek.
Malik did a great job as well. And again, I'm not as big of a uh, know as much about Freddie Mercury, or as much of a super fan to that. I do love him, but I'm not. But like, um, getting it to that level, I don't know. Like Austin Butler really got it to a different level, in my opinion.
I was looking up trivia for this, and for the performance that he did for the, I guess, the Live Aid
Mm-hmm.
performance that they did. They said British choreographer and movement coach Polly Bennett worked painstakingly with Rami Malek to perfect every nuance of Freddie Mercury's mannerisms, every eye glance, every body turn, every cocky strut on stage, every flick of the microphone had to be just right. And it's interesting, like you said, Elvis even consulted with this guy, you know what I mean, like with Rami Malek. Like
Right, right.
it's interesting when you're dealing with such a person that you have to that they have so much charisma and just their mannerisms. You have to imitate that. Like that's
Mm-hmm.
it's really interesting. Like
Because
imagine doing a Michael Jackson thing, and you have to learn how to dance like Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? Like you can't fake that. That's hard, dude. And
and
Elvis doing your karate kicks and all the hip shaking and everything. It's like these guys are like physical entertainers. I was watching earlier. Shakira's performance in the Super Bowl
oh yeah.
came up in the and she's such a specific
Mm-hmm.
performer, and it's like, okay, we need somebody to go up and imitate Shakira. That's a tall order, and it's like all of these performers that grow to be huge superstars. There's a reason they're superstars, and they ignite something in people and get people excited, and I think it's really interesting what kind of process you have to go into to imitate that. It's cool.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that like we're talking about what we're really talking about here is imitating charisma. Because let's be honest, there are probably thousands, if not millions, of spectacular singers out there that exist in the world right now. Just amazing vocal talents.
Thanks,
And
man.
then, yeah, I mean, obviously. Um, and then you could say, well, they're not at whatever level because of their looks, or because of their agent, or because of this, or because of that. But I mean, it comes like some things, like or some of them are successful, and then it's just like, well, why do they hit this certain point and not go to a certain stature? And there's always other things involved, but it's just some people just ooze charisma and radiate this charisma. And Elvis and Freddie Mercury were some of them, like and that's what you basically have to capture when you're acting as these people, because other people have acted as Elvis successfully, just not that great. And that's the thing, like they have accomplished what everyone's wanted to do their entire life, basically emulate that charisma. Now, I'm not saying they could make a life out of that, but for the takes and cuts and 2.5 hours or whatever, like they did it. And that's really amazing.
Yeah, it's wild, man, and it's weird. It's weird too how these people get to that level, and they get to a lot of them get to a self-destructive point too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you like such torment and things going on that also makes them great. It's like sometimes I feel like maybe the thing that makes them so great, maybe the thing that made them lean hard into music or whatever arts or whatever they're doing, is also the thing that tears them down. It's pretty wild. It's also wild to me. I was thinking about this earlier today. How much we like to celebrate these people, but how there's a weird thing with human beings, how a little bit of them enjoys watching them crash and burn. It's a sickness with human beings that they almost, it's, I don't know if it's because they're jealous, and that's what you were talking about, how they do these great things. Like, I don't know if people are a little bit of them are jealous because, none of us are exactly where we would maybe like to be or thought or think we deserve to be. And you see these people, and when they fall off their pedestal, it's akin to Schadenfreude.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Schadenfreude, for those who don't know German, is like when somebody stubs their toe on a coffee table or walks into a sliding glass door, and you laugh at them. It makes you laugh. You should be like, "Oh man, are you okay?"
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, but no, you're like, "Ha ha, you stubbed your toe, dumbass," and that's kind of fucked up. Like, but people are
But
like,
it's human nature. Yeah.
yeah, humans are like that, and I feel like people, when someone's soaring really high, they like a little of them likes to see these people crash and burn, and it's a sad thing, but it's a part of the human characteristic, and it's weird. I was thinking about that earlier because I was thinking about both of these guys, like just at the top of the world, but also when you sent me the question about who had a more, one of the questions tonight is who had a more tragic life, and I go, man, it's really interesting that some of the most successful practically worshipped men in the world also had some of the most tragic lives. It's crazy. But why don't we get into some questions? We'll start the game, but first let's go to the chat real quick and see what these guys. Schadenfreude, not to be confused with Schadenfreude. Anybody who's German knows that's a bad word. Don't say that. Joy at others' misfortune. That is correct. All right, well, we got Elvis versus Bohemian Rhapsody, and we got points. You know how the game goes. Both people or both movies have one rock hand to start out. That's right. They both got a rock. And Curtis, you sound like you're about to say something. Were you about to say something?
No, I was just going to say, and Bobby makes a good point. She says Kurt Russell did a great Elvis, and that's usually the one I go back to. Bobby, before this one, I was like, other people did it, but I always go back to the Kurt Russell one. And I think that kind of leads to my point as well, because like Kurt Russell didn't necessarily look like Elvis, but he is a good actor, and he is another just charismatic person. Kurt Russell's just fucking cool. So being able to pull that off was almost easier for him because he just had the charisma part, so that's my go-to. But so before this one, that was always my go-to Elvis movie.
That's kind of a weird cheating because you get sucked in because you like Kurt Russell's charisma, and you're celebrating good old Jack Burton instead of like Elvis, but you're like, man, he's cool. Like, no, it's because you're like, yeah, good old Jack Burton with the Pork Chop Express, but it's Elvis. You know what I mean? Like, that's cheating.
Yeah, but honestly, couldn't you see? If the world had gone differently, couldn't you see Big Trouble in Little China being a perfect vehicle for Elvis? Couldn't you see Elvis just pulling that off like a motherfucker?
Dude, if it wasn't doing all these musicals and he just and Elvis had done Big Trouble in Little China, that might be the greatest piece of cinema in the history of action cinema.
Like, what old Jack Burton says at a time like this? Who? Jack Burton, man.
Have you paid your dues? The check's in the mail. That was a bad Elvis, but yeah. Good old Jack Burton and the Pork Chop Express.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh,
you
boy.
know what, Ashley? Fuck it. Or what does he say? Anyway, all right.
I love that. Have you
Game
paid your dues? The check's in the mail.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, my friend used to say, my arms extended, my fingers or my sleeves rolled up, and my middle fingers extended. And he completely made that up, but that was his Jack Burton impression. Let's move on. All right, we got the point screen. Bam, let's get to the first. All right, the first question is, come on, who had the best story? This is an incredible question considering these are based on historical facts. Who had the best story?
You want me to go first?
Oh, I'm going to go straight up. I'm going to go first. I'm going to go Elvis. Straight up, dude. In the advent of rock and roll coming from growing up in a different culture and then bringing characteristics of music from black culture into the mainstream, and basically when on the cusp of the advent of rock and roll, he was right there, and yeah, it's a fantastic story. And the fact that he was exploited, and not a lot of people realize that, I don't think, until now. I was telling you before I saw this movie, I was fascinated with the book The Colonel, because it was telling me all these things. Like, holy crap, I didn't know that. And it's a tremendous story, and it's really sad that Elvis didn't get to tour overseas. It breaks my heart, man, because like he should have. They would have loved him everywhere. He could have gone and played in, you see these concerts, like they're playing in Brazil to 100,000 people. They're playing, in Japan and everywhere else. Like, dude, he should have experienced that. That sucks.
Yeah.
And,
oh yeah.
And just being such a crazy character. To karate kicks, going to meet the president without an appointment, and gold glasses. I'm going Elvis all the way. What do you think?
I'm going to agree, and I agree life-wise as well. I'll say movie-wise, though, like again, I kind of mentioned this before. The Elvis movie is fairly all-encompassing. Like this one didn't show, but the other one didn't show Freddie Mercury when he was younger. Although that was a very small part of the Elvis movie, we'll admit. But whenever he was, like a kid and stuff, and it really bugged me how they spent 20 minutes of the movie basically recreating the Live Aid performance. Like that's cool, but that's 20 minutes where they could have showed the rest of his life, the end of his life. And I know that's the sad, tragic part. But they didn't show it. Like it's still part of his life. And if I wanted to watch the Live Aid thing, I could have just, you can YouTube it, or you can.
Did you go
make
back
that
and
a bonus
watch it?
Feature. No, I mean I basically watched it, but I just would fast forward and I'm like, oh, they're still doing this. Fast forward, it's still going on, and I'm sure it's great. But it's like I didn't go and watch the movie for a concert or fake concert. I watched the movie for a biopic, so that bugged me a little bit. They spent that much time on it, and when they doing other things. Because like the Freddie Mercury story, it was a made-for-TV miniseries from, I don't know, the 90s or something. I mean, years ago. And I saw it when I was a kid, and it was like it got to the tragic stuff, and it was intense. Like to this day, like I remembered it. Like it was brutal. Like what he went through. And I'm not saying everybody wants to see that, but like,
yeah, that's a tough story, dude.
yeah, it really was. So I'm gonna go Elvis as well.
I'm gonna say too. I think I told you earlier, but I also read that they filmed that concert first. That was the first thing they filmed. So to me, I would think that Rami Malek would spend the whole movie becoming Freddie Mercury and getting to the end of end part climax of his life, and then being done with the role and having enough time to transform into that character. You've grown into that character. By the time you're done, you're ready to strut on stage and kill it. But no. He did that first, and then he went back and became young Freddie Mercury, and then went through the whole process. And I thought that was freaking crazy. To be honest, I was like, wow, that's really cool. He did such a great job with the character. I thought it was good.
So that's it. Now I'm not saying you're wrong. That's a good argument for acting, but for story, did we need a 20-minute concert scene?
First, I loved it.
That's the question here. That's the question here.
I loved it.
Did it push the story forward at all to have that 20-minute concert scene?
I loved it because that's a lot of people's final memory of Queen, you know, and it's like Queen did their thing, and then Freddie Mercury goes off and does his solo record, and then and gets sick, and then comes back and does this performance, and it's like, it is a legendary performance. The whole world was watching, and that's a farewell from Freddie Mercury to the world, and just beautifully done. The real one and the copy was good too. It was fantastic, and I was very impressed with the production and how it looked and everything. I thought they did a cool job. But that's an important thing, because that was Freddie Mercury's that was his farewell. So that's like if anything, it's like the times on stage is when he was happy. The times in between stage are when it gets dark and weird. And his last public performance like that, it was a home run, and the world loved it. So there you go.
Okay, fair enough.
But still, I'm picking Elvis's story.
Yes, me too.
Me too. All right, so we're gonna give Elvis a point on this one. Oops, that's the wrong. We need the point screen there, senor. All right. Ta-da! Come on now. There we go. All right. The next question is, who had the best cast out of these two movies? Who had the better cast? This is a tough one.
This is a tough one.
I mean, you had... I'll get back to the regular screen here. You got... All right, Elvis movie, you got Austin Butler, Tom Hanks. All right. You got Dacre Montgomery, who's the lifeguard in Stranger Things. Mm-hmm. It says Maggie Gyllenhaal, but I don't remember seeing her in the movie. We were talking about that.
Yeah, and I was able to find that and look it up. So she was cast as Elvis's mom pre-COVID, and then COVID happened, and she got recast. So it's that's why she's kind of there, but not there.
I mean, Gary Clark Jr. is in it. I thought that was interesting. He's an Austin talent. Little Richard Alton Mason was good. And the guy B.B. King was Kevin Harrison Jr. I mean, he was good, but it's like powerhouse casts. Really, the only one you recognize out of this is Tom
Hanks.
Tom Hanks and Austin Butler starting to get a name, and Dacre Montgomery again. He's a main character on Stranger Things. Other than that, there's not much to it. Now, when you get over to Bohemian Rhapsody, you got Rami Malek. All right, and then I'm going to scroll down here. I don't recognize any of these. Mike Myers was in it.
Mike Myers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Ray Foster. We had Aidan Gillen, who is Littlefinger from Game of Thrones.
Okay.
And Tom Hollander, who played Jim Beach, who became their manager later. He's been in a whole bunch of stuff. He's in The Kingsman. He's in Pirates of the Caribbean. He's in Pride and Prejudice. He's I mean, he's in a ton of movies. I recognized him.
It's kind of the same deal,
It's
man.
about
It's
the
kind of
kind of the same, yeah. Like, I mean, you have a couple. It's like Tom Hanks by himself. If you're putting pound per
right.
pound acting talent, it's really down to Mike Myers and Tom Hanks. so
Yeah.
let's do that. And Rami Malek's really good, but so is Austin Butler. I think they.
Right.
I think you could put them up pretty even, as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, honestly, yeah, this could be a tie. I would give Elvis the advantage because of Tom Hanks, just because we're talking, cast, star power, and stuff. But I'd be fine with this one being a tie. Like,
what about
which
Shrek?
is kind of
What about Shrek, dude?
yeah, but he was such a small part in the movie.
What about Fat
he did
Bastard?
He did well. He did very well in the movie, and I did notice that the character he played their first producer. And there was a great line in there, and that's what actually made me realize it was Mike Myers. He's like, they were talking about Bohemian Rhapsody, and he says, no teenagers are going to put this in their car and headbang to this song, talking about Bohemian Rhapsody, and that's the classic scene from, of course,
from Wayne's World.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even put that together. That's hilarious.
So, but I mean, I'm fine with this being a tie. But little bit of a bump for Tom Hanks, and that's probably any movie. If you got a Tom Hanks, you need to have like a De Niro or something on the other side. You gotta, he's a heavy hitter.
I say we give it a tie. So we're gonna skip to the next one. But yeah, Melissa said Tom Hanks, yes.
And it's a very interesting role for Tom Hanks too, Mel. You got to check it out.
Yeah. Which movie is a prettier film? Which one looks better? Which one is just a better looking film? That includes hair and makeup and cinematography and everything. Which one looks better?
I'm gonna go. I mean, so if Bohemian Rhapsody was definitely more realistic and stuff like that. Not that Elvis was fake or anything, but the style, which at certain times I didn't like, but it definitely did look better. It was much more vibrant. It was much more. It was almost like you were at a concert, like at a lot of points in the movie. Like you felt like you were at a concert, and there were some visuals that were just amazing, and it did get overdone a little bit at certain points, but I mean, it was just really cool.
You take that back. You take it back.
It just did. But Bohemian was great, all the cinematography and all that stuff, but it wasn't. It just wasn't stylistically that way. It wasn't.
I feel
grabbing your eye.
I feel like the costumes, the hair, and all of that aspect of it was pretty fantastic. The whole,
I agree.
It was a period piece, and I think it took you there. You know what I mean? Everything looked great. It looked, and when you're in the 70s, it looked like you were in the 70s. You know what I mean? It was cool. But man, that's one thing. Like this, Baz Luhrmann, I might not always like what he does, but this movie was just like eye candy. It was like it was dazzling. It was a ride, and I think like what was the movie with the Leonardo the Great Gatsby? That movie was a little bit much for me.
I did not like that movie.
Yeah, it was a little much for me. Yeah, and then there was weird times where there was like they're having a car chase, and all of a sudden you start hearing modern hip hop, and I was like, "What the hell is going on?" It was just weird and just a little too shiny. But somehow, with the gold and the gold glasses and the rings and the rhinestones and the jumpsuits and all of the aesthetic of what you would think. And I've been to Graceland. It's pretty tacky. Like there's some gaudy. There's gold. He had gold sinks in his airplane. Like but it was freaking awesome. And like yeah, and like something about that says, hey, this is okay to be over the top. But that's the deal. He didn't do it so much. He didn't baz it. So it wasn't so baz that it was over the top. I feel like he was holding back. Like his tendency is to want to go freaking crazy.
Yeah.
And he was careful with it. And I was like, yeah, you should. And I do this. I mix music and stuff. And there's sometimes where I'm adding an effect. And I'll be adding an effect, and I'm like, okay, I've got reverb, okay, and I've got it, okay, that's perfect, and I'll dial it back about 20% from what I think is perfect, and then I go listen to it the next day, and it's spot on. And if I'd have done what I wanted to do, it would have sounded like crap. But because I dialed it, like where I like it is a little bit too much, and I think that's a problem that Baz has. And I think if he puts his stank on it and then he dials it back a little bit, you get Elvis. And I think that's what happened. I don't know if there was an executive or a producer or somebody that was like, hey man, let's dial it back. But the level of gaudiness was just right. It wasn't annoying like it is in other movies. And I've talked to people that have told me, they're like, dude, I don't like his freaking movies. They're too much.
Yeah, but I'm one of those people. Like I don't like, because usually, yeah, well, especially with the Gatsby, like that's the main example for me, because I really wanted to like that movie. And like usually he's like, here's the line, he's like, fuck that line, and he's like 20 yards away. With this one, like he was either right on the line, he probably stepped over the line, in my opinion, like a couple times, but then jumped back, and it was fine. It worked, If he had directed Bohemian Rhapsody and it was the same style, it would have been terrible. But that's the thing. Elvis is such a larger than life figure. It's such a larger than like crazy story. It was able to work, And then like you were saying, that was gaudy and flashy was Elvis's style, like, and it did work. But yeah, I could see him definitely wanting to go too far with it, and somebody or himself pulled it back, and it was just enough.
Or maybe he's learned and he knows exactly what he's doing. Yeah. Maybe I'm just relating this to my own stuff. But yeah, it's like Mike Martin said that who we may have Mike Martin's guy we were talking to the other day, Curtis, over at Nosh and Bevy. We were talking about movies and stuff outside. We may have him on with us sometime soon. And cool. He was saying that he's like, I can already tell you I'm not gonna like this movie. And I go, dude, just watch it. It's like you might like it, and it's just because of Baz Luhrmann's over the top movie making. But anyway, so the question is, who had a prettier film? We just went off on a rant. I'm gonna say an Elvis movie.
I agree. Yep, I have to go with it.
And it's not that much newer that I don't think it's unfair. You know what I mean?
We're talking about 3 years, and then 2 of those years were pandemic years or whatever, 3 or 4 years. So, and they did have to stop production and stuff. So it's not even 5 years older than the other one.
Yeah, it's like when you're like, which one was a better looking movie? Commando or Pacific Rim? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, that's
cheating. Well, here's an interesting one. Which one do you think had a better score? Better music score? I think we're both.
I mean, it's easy to go Elvis on this one for me. But at the same time, like I did talk to you before about how Baz Luhrmann did that thing where he mixed modern music with the period piece, and I don't like that. I don't like that either. And then I don't know why in certain movies, and Elvis did it, didn't do it through the whole movie, but in certain scenes, they pick a song that Elvis sang, and instead of having Elvis sing it, they have somebody else sing it. And it's like, I don't know why they do that. Like, because obviously Elvis did it better with very few exceptions. So, and it's not like they pick another famous rendition of it. They just get somebody new to sing it. So that bothered me a little bit too, and I didn't notice that at all in Queen or Bohemian Rhapsody.
There's a guy that was used a lot for, and he's a country singer, but he was for years they used him as the Elvis impersonator. I cannot think of his name. I kept wanting to say Ronnie Millsap, but that's not him. It's a different guy. He was a blind country singer. But he was the go-to guy, which is interesting. Well, I mean, did the combination of modern and old music in the Elvis movie bother you enough to make Queen the winner of this, or are you gonna go?
I don't think it did. I really don't think it did. Bobby says Ricky Skaggs.
Is it Ricky Skaggs? Ricky Skaggs has a super high voice. I'm just a country boy at heart. That guy could sing high. He's like bluegrass dude.
Maybe that's why he could get away.
That was really bad singing, by the way. I just want to throw that out there.
I don't.
I could back up, but on this mic up close, it's like, dude, without blowing this, my vocal power so much, I would blow out this microphone. I don't want to do that to anybody.
I mean, okay, so let's say this.
I like how you just ignored that. You're like, okay, Clint, keep talking.
I'm sorry. I'm still thinking about this question because. So, repeat the question, please.
The question
Which one had a
is,
better score?
Look, you were a little bit offended by the use of modern music in this 50s tale. Yeah. You're like, what? And I have been annoyed I was annoyed by that in The Great Gatsby. They're having a car chase, and all of a sudden I'm hearing modern hip-hop. What the hell is this? This is some baloney. Yes. But in the way they did this in the Elvis movie was very, like, subtle, and I felt like it worked. And like I said before, I think that part of what this movie's about also is the integration of black culture, and I think bringing the way it all tied in, how they made an effort to show that Elvis was going down and friends with B.B. King and grew up, and I feel like integrating all those things together, I think it was cool, and I think it made sense. It added to the storytelling, not just like it wasn't just like, okay, let's be weird. You know what I mean? I felt like it helped tell the story. And I think that's why I liked it. I was like, yeah, this actually works the way this is going on. It's kind of weird, but it's not weird like the Great Gatsby weird. I've just looked at it. I was like, I'll allow it.
Yeah. Okay, so the question is, which one had better music? I mean, just opinion. No, it didn't ruin it for me. I didn't like that part, but it didn't ruin it for me, and I just got to go Elvis. I mean,
yeah. It basically, I know you're an Elvis fan, so it's like the question is, was the musical combination of old and new music a complete abomination that ruined the music for you enough that you would vote for Queen over Elvis, or would you vote for? Are you going to vote for Elvis?
Yeah, it's still, the Elvis was still, in my opinion, better.
All right, another point for Elvis, man. Bohemian Rhapsody, you're getting your butt kicked.
Now we have to. Anybody that's seen the show before knows this is not a fair fight. We both love and admire Queen and Freddie Mercury, but this is just not a fair fight at all.
Yeah, and we say it every time. We are not film scholars that are. We're making this show fun. This is not a fair scoring system. It's just the system we created, and if you don't like it, that's okay too. If you don't like it, you get 0 rock hands. That's what you get.
That's right.
Now, this is a big one. Big one. Which movie has better acting? Oh, no, not of kids. That was an addition from last week. Boom, get rid of that. Which movie has better acting? That's because we were doing we did Real Steel versus Over the Top, so I threw that on. But this week we're doing Elvis versus Queen. Which one has better acting? And for that, I want to go to the chat. Chat. Maybe you guys probably haven't seen the new Elvis movie yet.
They might not have seen it.
If you have seen it, you can help answer this question.
If you have seen it, you better be in here talking to us. Yeah,
that's right.
Okay, so again, both leads did spectacular. Rami Malek and Austin Butler did spectacular. That's almost a tie. I would lean a little more towards Austin Butler because, again, anybody portraying Elvis, in my opinion, that well, like I said, I literally, if I wasn't specifically thinking about it or looking at his face, just focusing on his face, like I would imagine Elvis doing the role. And then with the rest of the cast, you've got Tom Hanks in there who plays Colonel Tom Parker. And Clint and I were talking about this too. So he is Tom Hanks. He soaks up the scenery when he's there. He commands you to pay attention to him. He just is that type of actor. But he picked this voice for Colonel Tom Parker that is the stupidest, like Dracula sounded voice. Yeah. And I was like, I don't remember. It's like, well, Mr. Presley, like it's this weird thing he's got going on. And
I want to meet I want to meet him to ask him about it. You know what I mean? Like, it's super weird.
Maybe he had like temporary hearing loss and didn't know what he sounded like or something through the whole movie. I don't, because I specifically went back and watched some interviews on YouTube. You can look them up right now of Colonel Tom Parker. And Colonel Tom Parker talked kind of weird, but not at all like what Tom Hanks sounds like. And so, even with the crazy silly voice, Tom Hanks still pulls it off and steals some scenes. Whereas I can't think of anybody else like that in Bohemian Rhapsody. If Rami Malek's not on the screen, did you care what was going on? I mean, and that's the thing. There are other people playing the other members of Queen. It's not just about Freddie Mercury, although, come on. But even if they were there, did you care?
What about the manager?
Which one? They had like two of them.
Yeah.
I mean, they did well, but like
Littlefinger. So I was thinking about. It was.
And I'm not saying the other people did bad.
The one that got screwed, that manager got totally screwed, totally honest. He's like, "Hey, maybe you should bring this up," and then, oh man,
his boyfriend Peter or whatever, he played a damn good shithead. Like he played a shithead really well. Yeah.
And the wifey who she was good.
Yeah, okay.
She
good
was
point.
solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did really kill it.
And what about the "you touch my bum again and I'll thump you" guy, who turned out to be his boyfriend and all that? He was solid.
He was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. Which actually, going back to the music, I forgot to mention a bit of trivia that Queen guitarist Brian May and drummer Roger Taylor performed a rock arrangement for the beginning of that movie. If you notice the there was like guitar, and it was a total Queen style thing, and that was actually members of Queen that actually did that for Bohemian Rhapsody, which is pretty cool. And it was very signature guitar on that. Like if you would have asked me, "Hey, Clint, who do you think performed that?" I would have said that. I could have told you. It's pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, back to the acting. Talking about Tom Parker and Tom Hanks's performance, we're comparing because we're going back and looking at videos of Colonel Tom Parker, and maybe he should have done that. But really, this movie is wrapped around the heart of this is Elvis. Sort of. The name Elvis is on there. Elvis, everybody knows what Elvis sounds like. And maybe that's a little bit of genius to be like, you know what? I'm going to do my spin on Colonel Tom Parker. And he basically is like, I want to make this guy look like a fucking villain. Like a Hansel and Gretel villain that lures kids into the oven. You know what I mean?
It had to be a choice. It had to.
And he's like, I'm going to ham it up to make this guy look more diabolical because I don't think history has told the right story. So I'm going to ham it up. And maybe that's his choice dude, Tom Hanks is a brilliant actor. Is he a brilliant impersonator? I don't know, but he's definitely a brilliant storyteller. And maybe he said, you know what, I'm going to create this character, my version of what I think the Colonel is based on the book I read or the script I read. And that's how he told his story. Because I kind of almost don't want to go back and look at videos of the Colonel because Tom Hanks did a great job of being like a guy that's like, he's straight up diabolical. He's straight up diabolical.
This is I was reading an article where they were saying that, and I'd never noticed this before, and I assume that they did the research to know that it's true. This is the first role where Tom Hanks has played a straight up villain. He's never actually played a villain before, and this is the role where he plays a villain, and they're like, well, maybe you might not consider Tom Parker a villain, but in the movie, he plays a villain.
Yeah. He's absolutely. And I mean, he does everything to blow Elvis's career up and make him huge, but it's a self-interest. And you really see it when he, spoiler alert, when he gets him, hey, let's just get you in here real quick for these casino shows. This hotel casino shows, and then is over negotiating a contract for 5 years. And you told me, how often was Elvis performing when he was in these hotel casinos?
It was 2 nights, 2 shows per night, 7 nights a week for 6 weeks. And these are at least hour shows, at least.
And this is a straight up karate workout. Elvis is singing. But he's also doing the karate kick thing, and it's dude, sweat. I mean, just drenching in sweat, and I was almost gonna be like, Curtis, don't talk during the movie, man, and then I was like, wait, how many times a week was he playing?
Yeah, what?
And this is ridiculous. Yeah, it was nuts. So the fact that he's already doing that for 6 weeks, you're going to play 7 days a week, 2 shows a day for 6 weeks. And then I'm going to go and sign you up for 5 years of this crap. Holy cow. And all to erase gambling debts. That's insane, which maybe that's a spoiler. If you read the book, The Colonel, you would know that already. But anyway, so the big question is, we went off on a little tangent, but the big question is, who had better acting?
I mean, you made some good points with some of the smaller characters in Bohemian, but the smaller characters in Elvis do fine as well. It's just that the on-screen presence of the leads is so big. Oh, and actually, the guy that played Vernon, did a pretty good job, and Elvis's mama too.
She was good
before she died. So I got to go Elvis. I mean,
Sorry, gang. Elvis wins again. Man, I'm gonna have to start designing some questions to put Queen up in the running. Bam. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 against 1. Let's see here. All right. This one's not fair. Which movie made you want to take karate lessons more?
And our regular viewers know. Our regular viewers know that was not a setup just to give Elvis points.
Oh, it's diabolical. Hey, why don't you give us a factoid about that they didn't show in the movie? You're like, hey, I know I could tell that Lisa and Priscilla approved this script and all that because there were some things that weren't put in the movie. Speaking of karate, give us a factoid.
Yeah, so like a lot of this stuff, Lisa Marie and Priscilla are the owners of Elvis Enterprises. And so they have the final approval and on all of the stuff. Well, whenever Priscilla is leaving Elvis, it's a good scene in the movie. It's a rough scene, but it's kind of like not that real. Because yes, Elvis was cheating on Priscilla. He did, and he did it a lot. However, at the same time, one of the main reasons that she finally left him is that he found out that she was cheating on him with her karate instructor, Mike. Mike Scott.
Karate. That's for karate.
And then basically straight up called some dude and was going to hire a hitman to kill him, or to bring him to Elvis so that Elvis could kill him. But then they actually talked Elvis out of it.
Wait a minute. Who hired a hitman?
Elvis called a guy, and he didn't actually hire him, but he called a guy and was like,
"Hey man, I need you to do me a favor. I need to get rid of this guy. This guy's been banging my woman."
Pretty much. And he was like, I want you to kill him. And then he called him back and he was like, no, I want you to bring him to me so I can kill him. And then finally, some of the other Memphis Mafia were like, Elvis, this is not going to end well, dude.
Yeah.
And so he called him back and decided not to do it. But it wasn't really until then that Priscilla was like, okay, we gotta let's break this up. Like, we're done here.
Never mind, I'm a federal marshal. I'll just take him to jail.
I'm planting some drugs on him. Hey, anybody know where we can get some drugs?
Dude, that's wild. I hadn't heard any of that. Of just like, yeah, they just straight up are like, hey man, you're in the same thing with Bohemian Rhapsody. It's like once you get out on the road, then he's married, happy. Once he gets out on the road, he's got the wandering eye, and Freddie Mercury starts hooking up with different people, and you got Elvis doing the same thing. They don't point out anything about the karate instructor. That is a curious bit of information there.
Omission there, yeah, curious omission there. So,
well, which movie makes you want to take karate lessons more?
They do show the scene where Elvis like straight up chest kicks that dude that ran up on the stage that happened in real life.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna go.
Some dude tried to Dave Chappelle Elvis and ran up on stage, and he straight up chest kicked him, and that was I don't know if you heard me, dude. I actually laughed out. I LOL'd in the theater really loud at that. Like,
and he went, yeah, and then Clint went, yes. He laughed and he was like, yes, or something like that.
Yeah, dude. Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's gonna.
I have a friend here in Austin that back in the old days, somebody would run up to him and he would just straight up chest kick the guy and like lay him out with his foot. But yeah, Elvis did that on stage. It was the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You can hit somebody in the head with a guitar. You can whack somebody, but when somebody runs on stage and you just straight up chest kick him and lay him out, that's straight up gangster. And that makes me want to take karate lessons. Makes me want to take karate lessons, and that's why Elvis gets a point on this one. Which, oh man, Elvis, you're not being too kind to Freddie Mercury. I just want to say, this is a straight up landslide so far. But it's a testament to how good the Elvis movie is. The Elvis movie is fantastic. two skeptics who I'm calling myself a skeptic. I like everything.
Yeah,
But I'm very particular about Elvis. You know what I mean? Like that's sacred ground for me. And both of us just came out. And I looked at you several times during that movie, Curtis, and because I was amused by something, and I looked over at you, and you were smiling just as big as I was. You know what I mean? There was a lot of great moments in that movie. All right. All of these are dude. I'm looking at. I have a list of questions. Every one of these damn questions are straight up Elvis points. I'm just seeing Elvis points across the board. This might be the greatest slaying in the history of verses. Which one is the best movie to cheer you up?
This one I might have to give to Bohemian Rhapsody, because as much as I enjoyed the Elvis movie, the end of it in his life, like what they did to that man, just is brutally. It's just terrible. It's a fun movie, but like by the end, it didn't cheer me up. The end of Bohemian Rhapsody, at least, and this will come back to a later question, at least he did have that Live Aid moment, and at least he did have a partner that cared about him at the end of his life. The same can't be said for Elvis. So I'm going to go Bohemian Rhapsody on this one.
All right. You're like, I'm gonna seeing somebody die of a terrible disease. Cheers me up. I'm gonna pick. What the hell are you talking about?
But they didn't show that. But that's what I mean. They specifically didn't show that.
They did not. 20 like, what are you talking about? And Elvis died of a terrible disease, addiction. With all the crap. It's really fascinating. Both stories are super tragic stories. Like they're both very, very tragic stories. There's something about hearing all of those Elvis songs, though, that really cheers me up and makes me happy. But at the same time, there was times in that Bohemian Rhapsody movie where they're talking about like how they came up with We Will Rock You. And you got Brian May like, okay, stomp on the drum riser, boom, boom, pa, boom, boom, pa, boom, and he's like, what the hell are y'all doing? You're late to practice, but next thing you know, they're like, and I'm like, fuck you. I got goosebumps a lot of times, and like hearing those songs come together, like that I've heard my whole life, it was really cool. Interesting factoid. They took so many takes on the Bohemian Rhapsody recording. They had, it was like 150. I was reading about it earlier, but it was like, it was over 100
in real life, or
in real life when they recorded that it was 180 overdubs. The band did 180 overdubs on the song, on Bohemian Rhapsody. There's so much stuff. It's all pan, scaramouche, scaramouche. You got 5-part harmonies. I could tell you, in my own band, Nowhere Bound, did multiple harmonies, overdubs, like multiple parts, multiple guitar tracks, all these different things. And I had songs that had 100 tracks. These guys, they had tape machines synced up. They had all kinds of stuff, and they're doing these. But they are doing it on tape. So every time they do a bad take, somebody sings flat, somebody sings out of time, they have to stop. They have to rewind the tape, record again, and do it again. And they don't have auto-tune. They don't cheat. They do this shit for real. So when you hear a Queen song and there's like, it's because they did it perfect. So one of the greatest multi-track harmony recordings in the history of music is it's operatic is Bohemian Rhapsody. They did 180 takes on this song, and they're like, hey man, we gotta we're starting to lose the high end. Like they were starting to lose the high-end frequency.
The tape was getting thin,
the frequencies. And they rewound it and re-recorded over it so many times, and they held the tape up to the light, and they could see through it. It barely had any like tape is magnetic, and it barely had any magnetic stuff on it. And yeah, so they're like, quick, we need to bounce this down before this tape is done, and they bounce it down. But yeah, it's amazing. Like, it's from a recording guy's perspective, absolutely amazing. But what were we talking about? Which movie cheers me up? Like, it cheers me up seeing all of that stuff. But man, I've seen Bohemian Rhapsody twice. I haven't thought about watching it again since until I knew we were going to do this show.
Right.
I want to watch Elvis like 5 more times, like right now.
I'll see it. I guarantee I'll see it again this weekend.
Yeah,
I mean,
I want to see it 5 more times, like already. So I'm gonna have to, and I do things because it cheers me up. So I'm gonna go with Elvis. You're going with Bohemian Rhapsody. That means we got to go to the chat for a tiebreaker to a bunch of people that don't know what the Elvis movie's like because they probably haven't seen it. So we're gonna have to do this. We're gonna have to do we're gonna have to make a compromise. The compromise is, guys, which music would cheer you up more? We've only got a few people in the chat right now. We got 5 in the chat. So which music, if you needed to get cheered up, what would you rather listen to, Elvis or Queen? And hope everybody who's listening will contribute with the voting, because the winner is going to break this tie, and we will get another point for whoever you vote for. So who cheers you up, Elvis or Queen? Yeah, there we go. We got one for Elvis from Riley.
And Bobby says, "Oh my God, tragic life, Judy Garland." I would really like to see a movie about Judy Garland.
I like riddling kids type music. I like pop punk. Yeah. We got one for Elvis.
Closest.
We got one for Queen. We still got a tiebreaker, so somebody's got to help us out with that. We're still deadlocked. Get a drum roll, please.
Mel says, "Whoever is closest to pop punk." Who'd you say for that? Mel says Queen.
We got another one for Queen.
All right.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. Whatever's closest to pop punk, Queen would be more like My Chemical Romance, Black Parade. Elvis would be more like the Misfits. Just to give you an idea. Misfits, Volbeat, and Can't Think from Riddling Kids. So there you go. There you go. You like the Black Parade. So, okay, we got Queen. Queen's a winner. We got a compromise vote where we had to ask something completely irrelevant to the movie to get a point. So there you go. So Queen win. Finally, Queen got a point. Hot damn. Hot damn. Because I don't know if you guys realize, just to make it easy for production, both participants in this thing start out with 1 point. So this is actually Queen's first point of the night. Yeah. So there you go. So let's go into the next one. Acting. Well, let's go to the chat for just a second. How you guys doing out there? You guys having a good time? We've been on for an hour and 24 minutes talking about 2 fantastic musical films. If you haven't seen either one of these, you need to go see them both. I would suggest seeing Elvis in the theater. It is a visual spectacle. You're going to love it. It's really good.
I agree with that. And yeah, just man, some of that stuff just hits so hard. The good parts and the bad parts. It's just it's such a good film, I think.
Bohemian Rhapsody right now is not on any streaming services, but you can rent it on like Amazon and multiple others. I think it's like $3.99. So
yeah, that's what I had to do.
That's
And
what I
just for a heads up, they both have this right now. They both have the same rating on IMDb. They're both rated 7.9, and that's pretty good considering Elvis literally, technically, just came out today. So
Yeah.
both basically 8 out of 10s and tied on IMDb.
Trivia, factoid, the real reason why Freddie Mercury didn't get his buck teeth fixed is that he feared he would lose his four-octave range voice. So he kept them even though he hated what they looked like. So he had buck teeth. He could have fixed them, but he thought it would change his voice, which is interesting.
Which is smart. Why would you take
which
that
is
chance?
Quite a voice, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if you can sing like Freddie Mercury, I wouldn't change. I wouldn't even fucking brush my teeth. Like, don't risk it.
Let's see here. Okay. During the filming of the scene in which Bohemian Rhapsody guitar solo is recorded, Brian May arrived on set unannounced and watched the actor Gwilym Lee work through the scene. Interesting. He could have stepped in and assisted, but he said, "I'll just watch this guy stumble."
Yeah.
You got any Elvis factoids for me? What do you got?
Yeah, I had that. I had a couple Elvis facts from earlier today. Where we go? But it's not necessarily about the movie. But one of the best ones was, so whenever Elvis was becoming popular, they developed polio. Obviously, we hopefully all know was a terrible, horrible disease that really affected children. And whenever they developed the polio vaccine, it was right whenever Elvis was getting big. But people weren't getting it. The vaccination rate was like 0.6%. It was, which is not even 1% of the population was getting this vaccine. However, in order to help, whenever Elvis went on the Ed Sullivan Show, he got the vaccine live on TV. And then I'm just trying to see how long it was later. I remember the numbers, but how long it was later. Sorry. Oh my gosh. Well, and then after he was on the Ed Sullivan Show, the rate for teenage vaccination was at 80%. There it is.
There it is.
Yes, 6 months. Within 6 months, the rate of teenage vaccination jumped to 80%. 80% of teens got vaccinated because Elvis did on Ed Sullivan, which is pretty crazy. And
I should have looked in. You sent me that text earlier. I should have jumped in and read that back to you.
No, well, I'm glad I found this article again because this one was actually pretty good. I should have sent to you. So
I got distracted because I got blown away by something I'm about to read you here in just a second, and I was like, "Holy crap, what is this?" So go ahead.
Well, so Clint recommended The Colonel, which is a spectacular book. If you haven't read it, or I listened to it on Audible, driving back and forth from Austin, and I finished it literally right as I pulled into my driveway, which was great. But it was talking about when Elvis died, and they buried him at they named the cemetery in Memphis or in Tennessee, and I was like, wait, I thought he was buried in Graceland. Well, he is, but he was buried in Graceland because his body was exhumed and moved to Graceland because 2 days after he died, people tried to steal his body and ransom it. Tried to dig up Elvis's body and ransom it from the real grave. And then they exhumed he and his mother, and they're now buried
Wow.
at Graceland. Like, so that's why I was like, what?
Dude, that's far out.
Didn't he? Yeah.
When people try to, we're gonna dig you up and try and where is his
ransom
brother?
A dead body?
Where's his brother? His twin brother?
His brother is still in Memphis, not Memphis, Mississippi, where they were originally from. Yeah, was buried in Memphis. I keep saying Tupelo, Mississippi.
Yeah. Check this out. Sacha Baron Cohen, that's right, Borat, was the original choice to play Freddie Mercury, with Stephen Frears to direct. Frears left the project due to creative differences with Brian May and Roger Taylor, who controlled the band's music and film rights. The deal with Baron Cohen fell apart after May objected to the project being a biopic of Mercury only, not the rest of Queen. May felt it should focus on the other members and the aftermath of Mercury's death. They didn't like the original drafts by writers Stephen Revell and Christopher Wilkinson. Baron Cohen considered it a historically accurate / outrageous portrayal of Mercury that does not shy away from Mercury's rough edges, including his well-documented homosexual encounters and promiscuity. May felt Baron Cohen was too much of a comedic actor to play the Mercury well. Can you imagine if Borat played Freddie Mercury? That would be freaking wild. Like, I
think he could.
He's
honestly,
super talented. That's the deal. He is fucking talented. Like, can you imagine if Borat would have played him? And, super
that
weird.
might have been great as well. Like, Sacha Baron Cohen can really act. I mean, that's the thing. Half time when he does his real life stuff, people don't recognize him at all. I could really see him pulling that off.
And talking
maybe
about
not as well, but
talking about facials, I'm sitting here talking about facial structures, but think about what Sacha Baron Cohen looks like, and think about Freddie Mercury, and with the right makeup and wig person, I think. You get the little mustache. I could totally see Sacha Baron Cohen doing it. Now, can he sing? I don't know, but I think he could have done that.
To me, I think, honestly, like, it's amazing that they get those actors to do that. But to me, it's just unnecessary. Get them lip sync. I don't know why they go through all that work and make those actors sing like some of the greatest voices of all time, like that.
Well, Austin Butler did it, man. He nailed it.
I mean, but like, it's just overworked. Just like unless it's like when they're kind of like singing to the piano and stuff that you don't have recordings of. But otherwise, just use the real thing. Like, don't make them work that hard.
Yeah. Hey, Riley wants to know, right here in the chat, did Elvis movie show much about his childhood, or was it just about based on Parker's perception? It did show some about his childhood, but I was telling Curtis this on the walk back to the car, and also Charlie Wilson says, "What's up, fellas?" And what's up, dude? What's up, Charlie? Elvis, it showed his childhood, but we noticed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we also talked about how, there's a lot of music and a lot of shiny graphics and a lot of weird, like a lot of the crazy Baz Luhrmann stuff that you would expect to see in a movie was happening at the beginning of the movie. And Curtis was like, it's weird. We were walking from the theater to the car, and he was like, dude, it's weird. There was like tons of eye candy in the beginning, and it feels like they quit doing it towards the end. You hardly saw any of that. And it made me wonder, I'm like, I wonder if it's because they didn't have a lot of material for his childhood. Maybe there was limited content, limited information to base anything on, so they just kind of glazed over it, made a bunch of graphics and crazy, beautiful visuals mixed with music and stuff, and then as it got towards the end of the movie, that's when the real drama's coming in, so they didn't have to do as much of that because they had a lot of information, a lot of records, and a lot of detailed witnesses to talk about it and say what happened. And I feel like that's the deal. I feel like in the beginning, they just have a couple of passed down stories about Elvis's childhood, so they have to fill in the gaps with entertaining stuff. Plus, they got to entertain and hook the viewers. So I feel like that's what they did. Yes, they went over the childhood, but in detail, I mean, I would say not that much.
Yeah, and so not yet. They didn't spend a whole bunch of time on it, and I do think you're right because I've read at least 3 or 4 books on Elvis, and I couldn't even tell you that much about his childhood because I just, like you were saying, I don't think there's just that much there besides like, oh, he was a good kid and blah blah blah. But Charlie, they absolutely did show where his influences came from, even from that early childhood. And yeah, Riley, they did mention his twin. It was, just actually, it's a small piece at the beginning, but they do refer back to it later on, and a couple times. But yeah, they mentioned the fact that he was a twin, and his, well, I don't want to say younger, but his twin brother, there you go, died in childbirth.
Actually, Curtis, there was I saw this interview when I heard about this movie. I saw this interview, and it was Baz Luhrmann, and they were interviewing an old black guy, like old dude, and they were interviewing this guy, and it was basically the director doing his homework for this movie, and he was in, and this guy was like, yeah, man, I was Elvis's neighbor. We were kids. We used to run around together, and he used to go, and they would have a revival, and we would go in there, and Elvis was right in the middle of, and like basically he was in, like, he lived in a black neighborhood. Elvis grew up. He was a little kid. He grew up in a black neighborhood, and like this guy's talking all about it, and it was cool to be like, yeah. And he was showing, he's like, right over there where that house is, and this house is, and like, this was where the tracks were, and like, and he talked about all of that. And yeah, Elvis used to live in that house over there, and I used to live in that house over there, and they went through it, and he talked about all of that, and showing stuff like yeah, showing like the yeah, there would be a church revival, and everybody going in, getting filled with the Spirit, and singing and dancing. And Elvis was right in the middle of all that. And this guy was talking about all of that. And, and like they asked questions like, hey, was it weird to have a white kid in there? And like, no, he would hang out with all of us, and it was really interesting interview seeing this old guy. Just talking to Elvis, like hearing somebody talk to Elvis's neighbor who could give you an account of what it was like when Elvis was a child. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I was, I was watching these interviews. I'll see if I can find some of these interviews. I'll send them to you, Elvis, or Curtis. I almost called you Elvis.
Sweet. I'm fine with that. But yeah, this is going to be another one of those ones that's hopefully when it going to have some awesome features when it comes out on DVD or Blu-ray or whatever.
Charlie asks if they addressed the controversy of him stealing songs. No, they didn't address any controversy. I mean, they showed him, like watching as a child or watching as somebody young, like going out and like basically going out and hanging out in clubs, in black clubs, and hearing, you hear some lady, you ain't nothing but a hound dog, singing slowly, and like him hanging out and checking that out, and that's like an influence to him. It's not like he's like, this hound dog song will make me millions, even though I think that's I'm thinking of another, but they show him out there. That's just like, oh yeah, I went out to a music club because I like to watch music, and maybe later he decided to cover a song. I get the feeling, I could be way off, but I get the feeling, I don't think there's anything diabolical about Elvis. I think he just grew up with the influences, and just he loved that music, and that's what he did. And when you watch this movie, you get the sense that, like, dude, this poor guy just loves music and wanted to play music, and half the time they're forcing him to be in movies and do all these things. The guy just wanted to perform. That's it. And his influences, he grew up in, listening to blues, and and that's just in his blood, and
and that I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty much it, you know. And like they even show like a time where he gets upset and pissed off at home, and he leaves the house, and he leaves, and he goes down to Beale Street,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
ends up going and hanging out with BB King, and just listening to music that he loves, and like, um, I don't think it's real easy, man. Like now we're living in the future. It's real easy to look back and be like, oh yeah, this guy's racist, or this guy's was trying to steal from this person. And I say racist because Curtis was like, have you heard the recent things that say that Elvis is racist? And I'm like, how the hell was Elvis racist if he grew up hanging out with other cultures that weren't white, you know, I mean, I don't know,
Yeah.
like
That's
that's
yeah. Apparently,
it's weird to me, you know what I mean, like, and it's real easy to look back at people, and if people have said something, or there's, I don't even know where I'm going with this. I'm just saying, like the internet has taken a life of its own, and there's accusations for everybody out there, but it's real easy to go back and try and cancel a historic figure. But what's the basis on that? And it's funny to see a movie like this Elvis movie, where it's basically saying, hey man, this guy appreciated black culture and white culture, and he's just a guy who loves music. And like, for Curtis to throw the Elvis's racist thing on me right before we started this podcast, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And like, that I got a little bit shook from that, you know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about?
yeah, because yeah, it's apparently it's this new thing now, and I actually was reading an article where they asked BB King about it before he died, of course. And
Hey, real quick, Charlie said, it's just weird because I felt like he should have fought harder to get the recognition for the artists where he drove inspiration from. Here's the deal, though, man. Back then, we
and
didn't
he,
have the internet. Like it's basically everything was carnival sideshows, and like you just play music, you get stuff on the radio, you go around, you have a manager that leads you around, and you go off and you just play. It's not like um I think Elvis pretty much made it well known that he got his influence from rhythm and blues and all the grassroots rock and roll. What led to rock and roll, it was blues really back then.
right.
um it's not like listening to a Lady Gaga interview where she gets to tell you all the stuff. Like now we're all connected. Back then it's whatever got in the papers. And honestly, who's controlling the papers back then? You had a whole bunch of white people controlling the papers. So if even I think even if Elvis wanted to name somebody, there would probably be a filter of somebody who owns the paper or some article who wouldn't want to give credit where credit is due. To be honest, if you go back to the 50s, 60s, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I think
And he did, like, I don't know how much it was recorded and stuff, but he absolutely did, and he appreciate those artists, um, you know, in their time. Like there's one, and he's they're like, how about your song, blah blah blah, and he says, I can't. And forgive me, I can't remember the name of the artist, but he's like, no, that's not my song, that's so and so's song, and they're like, well, it's all these white reporters, and they're like, who's that? And he's like, oh, it's so and so, and then. And they're like, well, how does it feel to be the king of rock and roll? And he's like, I'm not the king of rock and roll. Fats Domino's the king of rock and roll. Like
Oh
he
yeah,
definitely did.
he did say
Yeah,
that.
oh
Yeah,
yeah.
they called him the king of rock and roll. He's like, I'm not the king of rock and roll. Fats Domino's the king of rock and roll. He did say that, which is
And
cool.
he and but at the same time too, when you see how much I bet you he would have loved to have a whole TV show and write books about his inspirations and stuff like that too. But how they treated him, and they were like, they're already like whole articles and newspapers talking about how he's the devil because he's bringing Negro culture into white culture and blah 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 and stuff like that. Like what he could actually say and what he wanted to actually say were two completely different things, in my opinion. And I think that's his whole life, man. That's the tragedy of his life.
Yeah, he pretty much had to go to. From what this movie tells us, is he was basically doing his thing, and like his culture was black culture because he grew up in it, and he was doing his thing, and they basically were trying to, and in modern terms, cancel him for dancing and playing music, like playing black music, and they were trying to cancel him for that, and he pretty much had to go into the service to avoid going to jail for it. And that's what they he went
they
basically
were straight up going to put him in jail.
They were going to arrest him, put him in jail. He basically went to the military for 2 years. What was it, 2 years? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, to basically avoid getting arrested for just playing music that and behaving in a way that was like the clubs and the music that he liked to go see and that he loved. Like that was his jam, but bringing that into the mainstream got him in trouble to where he basically had to go do that. And then when he came back, pretty much while he was gone in the military, the colonel devised the plan to put him in movies. And so when he got back, he got pretty much trapped into just doing a bunch of shitty movies. He kind of hoped to be a credible actor, but he pretty much just ended up doing a lot of movies, way more movies than he would have liked to have done. And that's what he got stuck doing. And all he wanted to do was tour and play music, but he got stuck doing these movies, and they paid so much money that the colonel wouldn't let him out of it. He just kept getting stuck into another one. So he was making millions doing that, and the money was going into the colonel's pocket. And yeah, half of the money, basically, colonel was making 50% for most of the time, and then at one point got up to 75%, which is insane.
He ended up, from that book that I just finished, they believe over the lifespans or the 21-year career that they were together, the colonel ended up making more money off of the deal than Elvis actually made off the deal. The guy who did all the work, was the personality. The colonel, his manager, ended up making more money off of it than Elvis actually did.
Which is insane.
Right. Like,
yeah, you're supposed to make
they're saying 10 to 15% is normal
15,
for a really
15 to 20% is pretty normal. But
and so,
real quick before Charlie bails, Charlie, if you're still here, dude, we'd love to have you on the show, man. Like we do Versus. You're always welcome on Versus, but we also do the Everything Entertainment News every Friday at 5:30 Central Time. So if you want to come up with us, our buddy Cameron next week is going to be out. So if you want to step in, dude, I'd love to have you, man. You always have really good insight, and you're just a likable dude, and your voice sounds so good. So let's, if you're down Friday, dude, we'd love to have you. But anyway, go ahead, Curtis. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I just I don't know, but there's a really good article from BB King, interview with BB King that I wish I could tell you what it was right now. You can just all I did was Google Elvis and BB King relationship, and it was one of the first things that popped up before BB King's death, and it talks about it, and it talks about Elvis hanging out on Beale Street, and like he says at one point, like he was like on Beale Street in the clubs, he was like you could always tell when a white guy was there. He was like, but you couldn't tell when Elvis was there because he just talked to you like he just talked to you. He'd just be hanging out and dancing and talking to people and stuff like that. So it's a really, really good article. I'd check it out.
Cool, man. Let's see here. Well, let's jump. So where are we on the scoring process? We did Cheer Up movie, right?
Yeah, what
we
was
did.
that
I think
though?
we got the point on that. So we never jumped to the next question. So this is a
because we went to the chat. That's right. Yeah.
So let's jump to the next question.
Good job, chat. Good
job.
Chat.
Give us a squirrel. We got distracted. Which one is the best Christmas movie? This is a stupid fucking question. Man, which movie out of these two tragic, sad movies are the best Christmas movies? Man, I'm gonna have to go with Elvis on this one too. I'm just saying.
That's fine. I'm gonna go Ty, and then just I'll put on the '68 comeback or something, because that was originally supposed to be a Christmas special, and like Elvis, they actually let Elvis be Elvis. So
Do,
I don't want to watch either of these movies on Christmas.
well, for me, every time, like every Christmas, my mom put on the Elvis Christmas cassette.
Mm-hmm.
I'm old as hell. She'd put the cassette on. We would put decorations up, and like I have a lot of fond memories listening to Elvis on Christmas. So I'm gonna go with Elvis. So yeah, what's your choice? And we can just jump to the next question.
I mean, I just don't want it, like the hard parts of that movie, man, just hit me so, because I do love Elvis so much. They just hit me so hard. Like I don't want to watch that on Christmas.
You got to pick one. Nobody's forcing you to watch it. Which one's a better Christmas movie?
Fucking shit.
Man, this is rough. It's rough.
I mean, I guess I'll go Elvis too.
You don't have to. We can go to the chat for a tiebreaker.
Yeah. I'm gonna say Ty, because I really don't want to watch either of these on Christmas. So we can go to the chat and see.
Okay, so it's a tiebreaker. Which one? People in the chat, it's up to you. Which one of these two movies would you rather see on Christmas? We need your help. The first vote is the winner. Who made the better Christmas movie? Elvis or Bohemian Rhapsody? First vote is the winner. We're just waiting. Queen won. Oh, it's a tie. Probably Elvis. So I said the first vote is a winner, even though we got 2 votes for Elvis and 1 vote for Queen.
He has a bunch of Christmas gospel songs. They're just not on. They're not on the Elvis Christmas album. That's like the one you normally think of.
I said Queen was the first one, so Queen's gonna get the point. And you know why I'm doing this? Because Christmas is a time of giving. And look at this fucking score. Like Queen is not in trouble of winning. Like Elvis is gonna be just fine. We're just gonna give Queen the point. Because Queen got the first vote, and we're gonna move on. Boom. Thank you guys for picking one. All right. Now back to an interesting one. Which movie is a better date movie? Look at this. Boom. Which one is a better date movie? Whoo-wee.
I don't know. I mean,
that's a tough one.
So you could say, okay. So you could say that Elvis being a womanizer and stuff, and Priscilla leaving him, might make your date mad. But Freddie did the same thing, like, so you can't really say it on that,
I could also say I don't want people looking at Austin Butler's pelvis while I'm hanging out. Like, hey, man, I'm not threatened by Freddie Mercury, but hey, you're looking at Austin Butler's junk. I'm right here. What the hell?
Yeah, or Tom Hanks in a fat suit. I mean, that's getting a lot of people hot and happy. But you might be thinking, too, like, Elvis is dead. She ain't getting Elvis. But this movie gets her going. She's going home with me, so you might give me a better chance. So I'm gonna have to go Elvis.
Also, if I had my hair slicked up just right, if I got it just Elvis just right, that might work in my favor, maybe.
Yeah, I'm not gonna look like Freddie Mercury, but I gotta. This is like kind of a natural pompadour that I normally have. So, and Elvis was a natural blonde. So
you're picking Elvis?
Yeah, and it's just it's a more fun movie.
I'm picking Elvis. All right. Poor Freddie Mercury. Oh boy. This is shaping up to be the greatest landslide in the history of verses right here. This is tough.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Okay, here we go. This is a good one too. Which movie made you hungrier?
come on, man. This is Elvis all the way, dude. Like you just put the thumbnail back up. Well, like what's gonna make you hungrier, Freddie Mercury or Elvis? The man chartered a flight to Denver to get a peanut butter and jelly and bacon sandwich
And
in the middle of the
bananas.
night.
And bananas.
Yeah, in the middle of the night, just took a flight to Denver because I want to go get that sandwich, baby. Like you gotta go Elvis.
Dude, I'm going Elvis too because I want peanut butter and banana sandwiches. Yep.
Peanut butter banana sandwich is very good.
All right. That was a quick point for Elvis. Holy shit. Elvis is just destroying here.
And not to be rude to my British friends, but I've never been. To be fair, I've never been to London or Britain or England.
London.
But I've been to London restaurants, and their food is very bland.
Bland. Yeah.
We have soul food, so like, we just win by default. That's you're automatically.
Curtis, have you ever been to Memphis?
I have not. Dude, that's on my bucket list. I haven't been to Graceland.
Dude, what the fuck's wrong with you, dude? Look, man. Look, listen to me.
It was literally
listen
a planned
to me.
vacation.
You got married. You got married in Las Vegas by
in the
Elvis?
building. But in the building where Elvis and Priscilla got married, same building. Like,
come on, man.
Literally, the vacation was planned. I think it was 2020 or whenever, and then the pandemic hit. We were going to drive. We were going to go to Memphis, go to Graceland, hit up Nashville. We were going to like do the whole thing, and then the pandemic hit, and it was like, well, we ain't doing that now.
Dude, go, freaking Memphis. I've spent 6 weeks in Memphis twice. I had the fortune. Twice. I had the fortune of recording 2 records in Memphis. One of the greatest music cities on the planet, and just a vibe. It has a vibe. Memphis has a vibe about it, and like it's fantastic. And the food is fan-frickin-tastic. Like there's Corky's barbecue, fantastic. Dyer Burger is an interesting place. It's on Beale Street. It moved to Beale Street, but what's the deal with Dyer Burger? Dyer Burger is over 100 years old, and Dyer Burger has had the same oil the whole time. What? Yeah. And here's what they do. When they cook a hamburger, they throw the meat patty into the oil. It sinks down. Like where you cook French fries, it sinks down, and when it's done cooking, it floats to the top, and then they scoop the meat out of the fryer. And what happens when it's in there? It releases its juices into the oil, and that becomes part of the oil, and it adds to the flavor. And what they keep doing, they don't change the oil. And now people that are grossing out, it's sterile. It's so hot that it's sterile.
Yeah, it's like 500 degrees, yeah.
But they just keep doing that. Sometimes I'm sure it burns down and they got to add more oil to it. But they haven't changed the oil since like 1920 or something ridiculous like that. And basically, when they moved to a new location, they got an armored car that transported the vat of oil to the new location on Beale Street, which is like Bourbon Street or 6th Street. It's their big party street. And so you can go there and you can go get a burger, and I get the triple. It's a triple meat. They throw 3 patties into the oil, blow it, releases the oils. I'm contributing to the next person's flavor journey. And like, dude, it's a greasy hamburger. It's insane and delicious, and it's just a thing you got to do while you're in Memphis. It's called Dyer Burger. That's awesome. Corky's barbecue is awesome, and like just in general, Memphis is just an awesome city. It's just cool. It's just got a vibe about it. So I'm gonna encourage you, dude. You gotta go. You gotta go see where MLK got shot. You the apartments and like go pay your respects to that. You gotta go to Graceland. You gotta go downtown to Beale Street. Go to BB King's Club. You gotta go. If you happen to be on 300 Madison Avenue, you'll be where the Ardent Studios where Ritalin Kids recorded. And I mean, there's some really fun stuff in Memphis. You gotta go check it out. So there you go. That's my spiel on Memphis.
Yeah, somebody, whenever we decided to make the trip, I can't remember who it was, but Ted was telling us how cool it was, and they were like, you know what it's like? It's like Austin used to be, and I'm like, that sounds awesome. Like,
yeah, well, I had some friends that from here that went there, and like they got like cheap flights for some reason, and they're like, screw it. Well, they just went and did all the touristy stuff. All the touristy stuff, and they had a blast. They came back like, dude, we had so much fun, and they just did the touristy stuff, and I was like, man, that's cool. I mean, I went to Seattle and did the Duck and did all the touristy stuff and had a great time too. So it's cool. I mean, like if you're looking to get out and you can get cheap flights anywhere, you can probably have a good time. I mean, as long as you don't have to go to work, and you know, you're gonna have a good time.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. So let's move on to the next subject. We did the hungrier.
We did.
Okay. Which movie do you think holds up better if we were looking at these movies? Oops. If we're looking at these movies, come on, 20 years from now, which one do you think is going to hold up better?
So here's what I think about that. Honestly, is 20 years from now, I would imagine there's probably going to be 3 to 5 more Elvis movies. Like, let's just be honest, because there were, like, whenever I was looking back at it, there have been a lot of them. And you know, they're like, not, they weren't all as big major like this one, and you know, like the Kurt Russell one and some of the other ones, but there's like, it's almost about every like 5 to 7 years there's another one.
I was almost in one.
Yeah, like I don't know if there's going to be another Freddie Mercury movie. Like I said, I remember the made for TV thing, and it hit hard. So it you know, I think it'd be hard to top this one, but it's possible. Like the Bohemian Rhapsody might end up holding up more because I just don't think it's going to have as much competition.
It
might be the only one in 20 years.
It's more timeless. Like nobody's going to top this
right
rendition.
And then and that's, I mean, because it is kind of straightforward as well. Like we talked about, the style of Baz Luhrmann is an acquired taste, and both of us enjoyed this. But I mean, I could see in 10 years being like, that movie, people, you know, with different, you know, tastes are just different. They're like, that movie was so stupid. And then somebody else comes along and does it straightforward, like the Freddie Mercury movie, and then they like that. And then somebody else comes along and does it a different, you know what I mean?
I think you're right. I think I'm going to agree with you on that. Like, I think Baz Luhrmann's take might be cool right now, but might be kind of tacky or dated later on. Like, oh, look at me, we have all these graphics. Like, we can't just tell a story because we have to dazzle everybody with graphics. Like later on, when like every kid can do all those graphics on their iPhone, they might not be impressed by that shit. You know what I mean? Like okay.
They're like, yeah, look, I just made my life story, and it's just, you know, just as wacky as Baz Luhrmann. You know, like, here's me graduating kindergarten, and it's like, you know,
look, rhinestones. Oh, exciting! All right, we're gonna give this one. We're gonna give the point to. Is this gonna be a? Is this? Hey, dude, are we right now, Curtis? I gotta ask you.
Mm-hmm.
Are we experiencing a comeback special right now? Is that what's happening?
At least it looks like it a little bit.
It looks like it. We were like 8 against 0,
1.
and now
zero.
Now we're coming back. It looks like we're coming back. Okay.
Never know.
Uh-oh. Right when we think we're coming back. Right when Who had the better villain? I already know the answer to this.
Yeah, this is pretty easy. Go ahead. What's your answer there, Clint?
The Colonel is the ultimate villain. I think we could have 5 or 6 more movies thrown into the mix, and when you ask who the ultimate villain is, I'm going to say the Colonel.
Yeah, I'm going to agree as well. I mean, the go ahead.
I was going to say because honestly, with Freddie Mercury, I think he was his own villain.
Yeah, I mean, it was AIDS and just society in general, you know. But that's not a villain. The Colonel, and the more you read about in real, he just was a villain. He was a villainous person. He was, and Tom Hanks played him as a villain, and it worked. And he was just, I mean, he was just an evil SOB from everything I've heard. I didn't know the guy, but
I was not thinking of AIDS and society. I was just more thinking like self-destructive, you know, just diving into your, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Because all that stuff comes back to haunt you. But the Colonel,
I can see that.
Holy shit! Yeah. Like, well, that's the deal, dude. You get. It's really easy to fall into addiction and like temptation and all of these things that you know, all of a sudden when you're thrown up into the spotlight and all of a sudden people are drawn to you and okay, I'm going to give in to all the temptations that the 10 commandments tell me to avoid. And it's like, okay, you know, okay. I'm like sex and drugs and rock and roll. And dude, this is rock and roll. This is what rock stars are supposed to be doing. And, but you know, there's consequences for a lot of that stuff, whether it's just accidentally sabotaging relationships or whatever it is, you know what I mean? A lot of these things, like, it's a thing we all learn when we grow up. We grow up and we get out in the world and we get crazy, and then we're like, whoa, hey, some of these things, maybe I shouldn't do that because it's that
costs a lot. It ends up costing a lot.
And that's a thing. That's a consequence we all learn as we get older. But anyway.
Yeah, and like that's the thing too, is that even if Freddy was his own worst enemy or was the villain, he at least had heroes on his side. You know, like his ex-wife or ex-fiance and the band members, stuff like that were like, hey, you gotta turn this around, like you gotta. And Elvis had very few of those real people. Larry Geller was one of them, and there were a few of them, but like that real like like it's not the movie, but in the book, like they're talking about how Larry Geller's like going, he's like talking to everybody, just like, he's dying. Can we like not stop? Can we stop this? Can we just do it? And all the Memphis Mafia is like, hey, Elvis will be fine, blah, blah, blah. And the Colonel's like basically hiring doctors to like a fucking sex slave in a third world country, like keep him I mean, and it's terrible, but it's like exactly, it's so horrible. Just keep him drugged up so he can be, you know, be the dancing monkey. And like, it's fucking disgusting. Like, he was a fucking villain, dude. He, like, anytime Elvis wanted freedom, just wanted, like, you've already made so much money, man. How much can you, like, how many pieces of this guy can you cut off? You know? And he just never stops. He's like, Elvis was probably happy to fucking croak in the, you know, in the shitter, like, be like, I'm whatever. Colonel ain't following me here, man. I'm done. Like, he's such a piece of shit. So
Elvis definitely had the bigger villain. Oh, right. Dude, the points are getting off the charts, dude. Yeah, I mean, like, self-indulgence and addiction and just gluttony can, you know, I mean, that plays a part in everybody. Like, Elvis
Mhm.
was his own villain for falling into that, but the Colonel was a super villain. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Shit was
Everybody has
fucked
their
up.
weaknesses,
Yeah, I
but
mean, Freddie
pretending to
Mercury.
be a friend and preying on someone's weaknesses as their friend or as their like that's evil.
All right, now this is interesting because our scoring is just like we have certain questions, and whether it fucking makes sense or not, we do it. So here you go. Here we go. Which movie deserves a sequel?
Well,
Okay. Both are dead. So who do you want to see more? Do you want to see Zombie Elvis or Zombie Queen or Zombie Freddie Mercury, I guess you would say?
uh,
Uh, who deserves a sequel?
so you could say that they could make a sequel about that last piece of Freddie Mercury's life that they didn't show. Now, that's the whole movie. It's gonna not be a very good movie.
No, man, I want to
Eh,
see some zombie shit. That's where
well,
I'm
yeah,
going.
I was gonna. Elvis already has a sequel. If you haven't seen Bubba Hotep, it's the real way Elvis died. You definitely have to check it out.
People in the chat, we need your input. I've already got Charlie dropping input. I'm gonna step
Freddie
out for 1
Reborn.
second, and Curtis, talk to the chat for just a second, man. I apologize
All
for
right.
stepping out, but I got to do this.
No. I'm gonna go golf on Bubba Hotep. If you have not seen Bubba Hotep, it is a spectacular film. So there are vast amounts of people who believe that Elvis did not die. They believe that there's a bunch of different theories, okay, but they believe that at a certain point he traded places with an impersonator because he was tired of everything, and it was done in secret so he could actually get away. The Colonel didn't even know, apparently. And since he was so drugged up at the time, the new guy just played that or stayed on the drugs, and people just didn't notice. And it was before his death, before everything went really bad, and that the real Elvis was alive. There's also theories that whenever he truly did become an FBI informant for the mafia, and the mafia was trying to kill him, so that they faked his death and put him into witness protection program, and he's had a wonderful life since. And they have all this evidence and stuff. You can go down the rabbit hole on that. But Bubba Hotep is a spectacular film where the Bruce Campbell, plays Elvis in real life, to where he switched with a impersonator, and he's living out his life in a rest home in Texas, or a old folks home in Texas. And he has to fight. He dies fighting a mummy that has come back and is killing the rest home, the old folks home people, by sucking their souls out through their assholes. And it is just one of the best movies in a long time. It was done by Joe Dante. Joe Dante, the horror director, Joe Dante. It's not really a horror movie. It's more of you could even say it's a horror comedy, but you could even just say it's pretty much a comedy. And it's just very well done. It's just a fun movie. And it's like, that's how Elvis really went out, So I would say that's like the continuation of Elvis's life. But since we're talking about deserves a sequel, this one, you know what?
What?
You know what, dude? So I was just explaining to them how people believe, plenty of people believe that Elvis is still alive, and how and why that different reasons of how and why that occurred.
I mean, we have Bubba Hotep. Like, that's a
I know.
sequel.
Oh yeah, I just went into that. But
Okay.
here's the deal. So remember we just talked about people trying to steal Elvis's body 2 days after he died?
Yeah.
What if that was the mafia that was actually that supposedly is looking for him, checking to see if the body was there, and then that's why they moved to Graceland, and the one in Graceland is actually empty because the impersonator that was in there, they got rid of that body, and the real Elvis is out there somewhere, and we could have that movie.
Bubba Hotep.
Boom.
We already have that. We already have that movie.
Well, it doesn't have to be Bubba Hotep. It could be him, where he's like,
but what if Elvis is out there, but he's not like disguising himself? He's full fucking chops, hair, helmet, and like, how you doing, man? Yeah, man. Oh. Hey, I need to get some. I need some Rolaids. My stomach's hurt me real bad right now. It's hurt me real bad. I need some Rolaids. I'm like, really, dude? That's just fucking weird.
Could be, or maybe he's lost a lot of weight and just became like some other famous singer. I don't know.
So did we get a point for the best? Who deserves a sequel, or did I walk away before the point? I don't remember.
I don't know if we've got it. Charlie's saying Freddie Reborn, so we can go with that.
We're giving it to Freddie right now. Yeah. All right. Freddie needs the points, man. Poor Freddie.
But like I said, honestly, they could do a sequel about the last, few years of his life.
What the fuck? What are they gonna do?
I know. I don't know, but maybe focus more on the family aspects. He finally found a partner, and
Freddie's back. Freddie's back, and he's pissed off. Freddie gets braces. Like, what are they gonna do? All right. Here we go. Which movie? We already did that, dipshit. That's weird. All right. If you were on a flight and you only had one movie, which one would you pick? This gets us down. We're down to the end, basically. So, if you were on a movie and you only had one movie to watch, which one would you pick? Curtis, which one would you pick?
I'm going Elvis.
I'm going Elvis all day for 1,000.
Yeah.
People in the chat, we got 2 Elvis votes. What do you think? Freddie Reborn.
I mean, if Freddie Reborn is not available, I'm going Elvis.
If we have a Freddie Reborn zombie movie, I'm watching that. Like that, I'm like that's gonna be my pick because I haven't seen that movie yet. But if Freddie Reborn is not available, then what are we watching? Curtis and I are both we're on the same page, so I feel like we're biased. We're gonna just completely. We're going to nix our votes. Our votes don't count. We're going to look at the votes that we get in the chat, and that's what's going to score. So, already, we have Queen as the vote. Mm-hmm. So, we're going to wait a few minutes. And, let's see. How do we talk about this? Like, was there anything about Queen, the Queen movie, that surprised you, Curtis? Like,
so honestly, I didn't know that we got an Elvis in there.
Hey,
I didn't know that Freddie went out on his own solo thing, and did that for a while. I mean, I knew there were Freddie Mercury songs that weren't Queen songs, but I didn't realize he had made 2 albums that you solo. That surprised me a little bit, and it also surprised me. And again, this is why it was. I would say it's a cheer up movie. That he went back to the band, and he was like, it's a great line. He's like, I went to Germany and they hired all these guys to do what I want. And he was like, the problem was they did it. He was like, and it wasn't working. The fighting that we all did for the band, that's what made the sound. There are certain things we've talked about plenty of times on ensemble casts for certain movies. And it was like, we'd be like, it just wouldn't work with different casts, or you could, it's them working together that makes it strong. And Queen was that sound. You wouldn't have had that sound if they weren't together. And they're going to fight. Yeah, they're going to, do this stuff. But so it did surprise me that he actually did leave for a while and basically turn into a shithead. It's not surprising, but go ahead.
I can tell you, man, firsthand, it is the weird things that rub, the weird disagreements, the weird fucking things that rub that don't
friction.
the friction that just doesn't lock in the weird rough things. There's a balance in the universe, and for everything that's difficult and shitty, you get something that is awesome and great. And when you are matched up with the person, I mean, like you might have a relationship where you don't agree, and the person pisses you off, but you have an amazing sex life. You just like, and it's the universe is fucking weird like that, and it's weird like that with bands. I've been in a million bands, and it's like that. It's like, hey, man, you might agree, but you disagree on this, and all of a sudden, like, bam, the chemistry is perfect for creating amazing art. And it's like life is weird like that, and I think it's cool. I'm looking at the votes. We got
Real quick, you better be recording that because that was just a great monologue you had there. Anyway,
I'm recording everything, but yeah, like
it really,
it's
no,
weird.
it really was.
It's
just a really well
life
said.
is weird. So like, Freddie Mercury.
Don't ruin it. Don't ruin it.
No, I'm just saying.
It was great.
Freddie Mercury is talking about that, and he's saying, "Hey, man, I had my people, and like they'll do whatever I want, but they couldn't do what you do." The friction is what makes the greatness. If your fucking wife did everything you told her to do, she would be boring. Like, if your best friend always agreed with you, they would be boring. Like, if your bandmates played everything exactly the way you wanted, they would be boring. It's the differences that make us all come together and make magic. And that's like, the secret to life is compromise. And most people don't know that. But the secret to life is compromise. And when you compromise, everyone thinks they're right. And when you're pretty close to right, but you back up a few steps, it's just like I was talking with the effect. I nailed it, but I'm going to dial it back 20%. It's the same with everything. It's the same with your love life. It's the same with your friendships. You think you know what's up, but dial it back 20% and you're going to be happy. And like, that's a universal, I think that's a universal, I'm going to call it a law. And yeah. And so anyway, I don't know. I'm going off on a rant at this point because I've been drinking whiskey all night. But I'm just saying, like, you know what I mean? Like,
it's a spectacular, and you've said it so well. I'm just like, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just an
I'm paying you,
observation, man. Like, we all think we know what the fuck is going on. Dude, we're all bumbling. Everybody's bumbling around. It doesn't matter if you're Elvis or Britney Spears or freaking Donald Trump or freaking anybody. We're all bumbling around on this planet. We all think we know what's up, and like, we just got to look around and appreciate the people around us. And maybe I'm going off on a fucking rant, but yeah.
It's like whenever before I met my wife, I was dating this other chick, and she and I got along great. It was just stuff, but it was, of course, we were dating. It was early in the relationship, and we had so much in common, everything in common, and it was so, like, the first few dates stuff was just so awesome because we had every single thing in common. Like, we were just clicking on everything. But then you get to this point and it's like, hey, you know what's awesome? And they're like, yeah, I do, because I like everything you do. And you're like, but you know what else is cool? And they're like, I sure do, because I like it too. And then you get to this point where it's like, I'm just fucking hanging out with myself. This sucks. Like, there's nothing going on here.
This is boring.
Yes, this is boring. And then you got somebody like my wife, and I'm like, so, like, what do you mean you've never seen Nightmare on Elm Street? She's like, I've never seen it. So I introduce her to that, and like, she introduces me to this stuff that I've never seen, because, and she didn't like all of it. I didn't like all of it, but it's still, you see new things, and some of them you like, and it's like you're experiencing, you're sharing what you love with somebody. instead of it just being like, hey, we both love that. You want to watch that movie again for the 30th time? I'm down. Like, it's just the opposites attract for a reason. There's a, it's to find that balance.
Well, on the last situation, we got a tie. We went for a tiebreaker in the chat, but we got a tie. So we're gonna go back to the points. And we're gonna find the winner once and for all. Like,
yeah, well, I think I think Elvis won that last one because you got Riley and Bobby saying Elvis. Mel says Queen. Now go watch Elvis. You're gonna love it,
dude. You guys, anybody who hadn't seen Elvis yet, you're gonna be blown away. It's ridiculous. It really is ridiculous. Like, it is nuts. So, all right, hold on. One more of these. One more of these. There we go. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 versus 4. 9 versus 4, which is a slaying. This is more than 50%. Like, Elvis completely dominated, completely destroyed Bohemian Rhapsody. It's an embarrassment. Like, it's an embarrassment to bandwidth. I'm just kidding. I'm being dramatic. Like, holy shit, man! Like, Elvis just killed Bohemian Rhapsody. Are you surprised? Are you surprised, Curtis?
No. And I would love anyone to like, we are two Elvis fans. I'd love somebody to watch it and bring a argument against a lot of those, because we are two fans. But I mean, I was trying to be as neutral as possible, and it just still came out for Elvis most of the time.
I tried, dude, but it, like, honestly, dude, the Elvis movie, guys, right now, like, hey, we're looking at scores, we're trying to analyze everything. The Elvis movie that is in theaters right now is an anomaly. It is a beautiful film. It's a beautiful film, and you should go see it in the theater. It is really good. It's not just another movie. It's definitely a special film, and I hope a lot of people go check it out. Yeah, but it is really good. Curtis, what were we going to say?
No, and I was going to say too, and it's not, as two Elvis fanboys, it's not just it's just this aggrandizement of him. There's plenty of movies out there where it's just like, showing only all the awesome stuff and fairy tales about Elvis. They show you the ugly, man, and it hits real hard, even as a fan, or probably more so as a fan. Like, the ugly hits.
As a fan, dude, there are things that kind of annoy me a little bit, but overall, as just a viewer of entertainment, like, and also a fan, like, dude, they nailed it. Like, like, the music was great, the storytelling was great, the visuals were great. It was just great. Like, they did it. Like, they nailed it, and like, they didn't fuck up. I just listed those three categories. Like, they didn't nail it in one area, but not in the other. They nailed it in all three areas. Like, it was like good storytelling, good visuals, good audio. Boom. Like, that's all you need to know. It's like, it's good. It's an entertaining thing to see, and it was really good.
Yeah. And I'm gonna do my best to try and see it again this weekend.
I'll probably do the same.
Yeah.
All right, man. So I think if we go back to the points, look at this. I think Elvis wins, and look at that fucking cocky look on his face. He knows he won this shit.
Yeah,
look at him.
Of course he did. Of course he did.
You got Freddie Mercury's like, look at me, and Elvis is like, Yeah, whatever. Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead and give me another one. You know you want
All
to.
right.
Just
I'm
give it
ready to go
me.
to bed. Are we done with this yet? I'm ready to go to bed. Somebody
Yes,
give me a peanut butter. Somebody give me a peanut butter and banana sandwich. All right.
Sounds good.
Which
Yes, and thank you, Clint. You've been killing it all day, man. Clint's been going since 3:30, and
dude, you've been going with me. What are you talking? You're acting like
yeah,
I'm.
but I got to sit back and enjoy small screen. You had to jump
Yeah,
on there and keep working.
you're acting like I'm in this race alone, dude.
No, I'm just saying, like,
come on, man. All right, guys. The winner of this thing is Elvis. I could have told you yesterday Elvis is going to win because I'm extremely biased. But yes, Elvis won this thing. Guys, like, share, subscribe. Hit the notification bell. It sounds like this. And holy shit, fellas. Gang, we will see you guys soon. So, all right.
Take your mom to see it, Mel.
Yeah, Curtis.
Do it.
Thank you, dude. My mom went to town. My mom lives out in the country, and my mom went to town today. And I was telling my sister, I was like, Brenda, you're taking my mom to the doctor. You got to take her to see Elvis. Like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, come on, take her to see Elvis. Like, come on.
Yeah.
So, anyway, thank you guys, everybody at home. We appreciate you. We love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. And Curtis, do we have next week's lineup yet?
I don't. We talked about doing a couple things. We talked about doing Unforgiven versus Josie Wales, or potentially doing The Professional versus what's the new movie about the little girl that grows up to be the basically the sequel to The Professional that's a different movie with Sam Jackson.
Thor?
Thor. Sam Jackson movies. It starts with a P as well.
Well, it sounds like we'll figure it out and we'll get back to you on social media.
Yeah, we can do that. We absolutely can do that.
I feel like there was another one.
I'm sure there was another one that we talked about. Mm-hmm. Those are the most recent ones that I remember.
Either way, you know what? We had a big okay, here's the deal. We had a serious reaction online to the Tombstone video we did. So we want to definitely hit a Western thing soon, but we're going to do another thing and then we're going to do a Western. So we got to figure out this week what we're going to do.
The Protege is the Sam Jackson movie. So the Professional versus the Protege is what we talked about.
And also we've been talking about doing gangster shit. So that's what we were talking about. Like
mafia movies, yeah.
Yeah, are we doing like freaking Goodfellas versus Casino, or like Bronx Tale versus, I don't know. We got to figure out some kind of
well, Riley and Charlie Wilson say we should do Blazing Saddles versus Django.
Dumb. That's definitely two completely different movies with both have saddles. We might just do that because it's two different posts. They're not even related. I kind of like that. Dude, wow. Okay.
Don't agree to it yet, though.
I've been drinking.
But I do like Django, though. I do like Django for our Western.
I like Blazing Saddles. Like,
yeah,
I haven't seen it in 30 years. Last time I saw that, I was a kid.
And Mel is still waiting for and I do want to see Annihilation. I didn't realize that was the same director as The Witch, which I love them, or I love that movie. So I do want to do Annihilation, I got to force myself to watch stuff now versus something. I don't know what though.
Isn't it weird that we have so much fucking stuff to watch? Like you don't even have enough time to watch everything.
It's a good problem to have, yeah.
Yeah, it's weird, man. Like, I gotta go watch right now. I gotta go watch Amazon. The Boys is like waiting.
Oh yeah. You gotta jump on that.
Yeah.
It was a good one. It's a damn good one. But it makes me worry a little bit. I'm not going to spoil anything, but when you're watching it, it makes me worry a little bit because this is like episode 6 or 7 or something, and they're probably only going to do 9 episodes. So,
Dude, have
hoping
you
they're not gonna leave us
started
hanging.
Umbrella Academy?
No. I'm going to start it. I don't know, probably this weekend.
Dude, you got to
I've
go
been busy, so.
back. You got to go back, watch it. It's really good. I promise you, it's fucking really good. It's really good.
Yeah.
All right.
Have you caught up with Stranger Things yet?
I am like on the second or third episode of the latest season of Stranger Things.
Okay.
Like I just got
So
caught
you'll
up.
be done by the new one. Yeah, you'll be done by the new time.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I gotta watch. There's so much content. There's so many things and they keep announcing new things. I'm like, God damn, I'm trying. I can't even. I can't. Fuck.
I can't do it.
It's a lot. It's a lot of stuff.
You got to get one of those. What is it? Clockwork Orange things where you're like this. You know, like
Yeah,
they
exactly.
yeah.
It's fucking shit's crazy. But guys, speaking of crazy, look what we got here. Look what we have here. Elvis won. Elvis wins. That's right, fuckers. Elvis wins.
Hail to the king, baby.
That's right. Hail to the king, baby. So, everybody out there, if you haven't seen the Elvis movie, go to the theater, watch it. It's a spectacle. It's fucking fantastic. Elvis, he's fantastic. Austin Butler portrays him perfectly. It's great. It's really good. It's a dude that just wants to play music. He just wants to do his thing. And it's so good.
I'm sorry, Clint. I know you're trying to do the show, but I gotta. Whenever I was listening to the Colonel, there's a story by one of Elvis's guys, and he's like, is whenever Elvis, towards the end of his life, he's all fat and they're playing tennis and stuff, and he's like, and I didn't believe he's like, I knew the king. I didn't believe he had mystical powers or anything like that. He's like, I knew he wasn't Elvis to me. He was Elvis, and he says, but I shit you not, man. One time they're playing tennis and it starts raining, and they're like, all right, well, let's start packing up, blah blah. And Elvis goes, no, man, it'll be fine. And he just puts his hands up in the air like this, and it stops. He's like, and it stopped raining.
Oh, that's fucking great.
There's a little bit of faith, man. You can stop the rain. He's like, and he did it.
That's fucking great. And that's exactly what I expect from Elvis. That's great.
Yeah.
Hold on, man. I got this.
All right, there we go. All right, you beautiful people.
All right, fuckers. Everybody out there in Versus Land, thanks for watching. We love you guys. And, dude, we super appreciate you. Charlie, next week, I'm serious. We're going to need you at, what is 5:30? We'll just say 5 o'clock. Central Time is 4 o'clock Eastern Time. Man, fucking hit us up. We're going to have you on, and we're going to have a good time. And everybody in the chat, we appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out. And you know what? We're going to see you next time.
Good job on the conversation tonight, chat.
Yeah, you guys really helped us balance the scales, and we really appreciate that.